Rick Murphy. I've known Rick for a while now. I hadn't seen him in about a year and a half. He lost 60 plus pounds. He looks great. He opened up with it. Did he have to do it? Did he want to do it? He was pushing close to 300 pounds. Last time I saw him, he definitely looked unhealthy. We go right into race car driving that he likes to do as well. But Rick, he's a seasoned veteran. He has Cogent mergers, and they work with companies that want to buy other companies, specifically in the tech space. I'm a former MSP, managed service provider. This is what Rick does. A lot of knowledge in it. Really great way of explaining it, kind of dumbing it down for everyone to understand. I ask questions like, when should an owner think about selling? When should somebody that wants to buy, what should they consider when partnering with somebody? But it's a great discussion on, he has strong opinions about how to run your business. I ask that too. What are some common mistakes that small business owners are doing? We talk about some things that are doing with, I wonder if you know what an ad back is, and how it matches up with generally accepted accounting practices, GAAP. But great conversation with Rick. He's full of energy. I'm glad he's healthy again, and I love talking to him. Thanks for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Oh man, Rick Murphy, very excited to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time. What's the key to losing 60 pounds?
Oh my gosh. I like to call it the shut your pie hole diet. It's like you you eat less, you drink less, consume less, and work out a little bit more often. Those two really well.
Last time I saw you, you told me you were pushing 300.
Yeah, I was up in the high twos, my maximum density.
And so why lose the weight? I asked you, did you need to or did you want to?
Just both. Just need to, want to. I'm getting older, and carrying around all the extra weights not fun. And I like to race cars for a hobby, so being able to fit in the seat makes a difference. Actually, taking 60 pounds off adds a little bit of lap time actually when you're in a race car. So
a little bit,
little bit of that. Yeah, just been carrying around too much weight for a long time. It's better to be healthier.
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection, powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza Dash MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza Dash platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. Yeah. And so was there a scaring point? What was your point there? You said this scared you, got to turn around, you got to drop the weight.
So, I just, I got multiple sicknesses all at once about 15, 16 months ago in early 24. And I was actually speaking at a CASEA conference. I was supposed to speak, and I ended up speaking for like 5 minutes. So I felt so terrible. I was like stuck in the hotel room. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I sat through all days of everybody's doing their presentations because my presentation wasn't until the afternoon. Everybody was very, hi Rick, thanks for sponsoring. We were actually sponsoring it. It was their M&A event. and everybody's thanking us for sponsoring it. And I just said, "Don't touch me. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just could
Mm,
keep your distance." I kind of sat by myself, and I got up on stage, and I just knew I wouldn't be able to be myself or spend any time being articulate. And I said, "Guys, those of you that know me know I'm very glib and not very shy. And I got to, I just feel terrible, and I just can't keep going here. And I just want to say hello to everybody and thank you for coming." And I got off stage basically.
mm,
And then just went home, got diagnosed with flu A, COVID, and then a week later, I got diagnosed with both kinds of pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia and viral pneumonia.
mm,
And put all that in a blender, and I was really, 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 really sick.
mm.
Blew up like a balloon, and went to the doctor. And that weekend after I went to the doctor, about a week after getting back from the show, golly gee whiz, I looked terrible, felt terrible, and went to the hospital. And I was in the hospital for a week, and it caused all sorts of things with my heart. And I'm all way better now. Actually, I just got back from an annual checkup this morning, where the doctor said your numbers are spectacular. That's a
Mm.
quote. I actually had him say it into my phone, so my wife could hear it. So yeah, a year and a half later, in great health and feeling good, and just less of everything helps you feel better. And it definitely took a scare, I suppose, to make that happen. But
Mm.
I'm not sure I would have done it the same way. But so just rapidly doing a lot less of anything stupid.
Very cool. And you said you cut down on the alcohol too.
Yep, you cut back on alcohol, just drink a lot less alcohol. I never was into like sugary sodas, things like that. So, so never been like, I'm not a sugar iced tea. I'm an unsweet tea guy instead of a
Mm,
sweet tea.
mm,
Um, so, just lots less calories. When I kind of do the math on calories, you figure, gosh, I'm probably doing 20 to 30,000 less calories a month.
amazing.
I just think, having a nice cocktail after dinner, or having a beer, or having a couple glasses of wine, and whatever food you're having. And, are you eating 3 squares a day or 2 squares? So weirdly, I didn't do it on purpose, but I'm kind of doing intermittent fasting, but not on purpose calling it that. It's just I eat less frequently that way.
Right.
So, and I'm a little older than most people, so I'm not sure about the whole eat 7 times a day thing. I don't think I work out enough for that. But yeah, just consuming less calories makes a huge difference.
It's amazing how little food we actually need. I intermittent fast as well, and sometimes I can go a day and, with almost nothing and I feel great. It's we've kind of
It's
conditioned ourselves 3
it's
times a
yeah,
day.
it is really interesting. If I eat breakfast and a nice lunch, I don't have dinner really.
Right.
Just have a little something for dinner, maybe not. Um, if I feel terrible I can't eat late anymore. I can't
Right.
eat a big dinner late anymore.
Yeah, me either.
So it's not good for you.
Mm.
I'd feel terrible. I can't sleep, and it's really weird. So I
What
used to
got
be like all about that.
it really and the breakfast is actually breaking your fast, right? I mean, that's,
That's what
yeah.
it means. I forget who said it. It's breakfast like a king, lunch like a dinner, which is lunch or pick what breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and then eat dinner like a pauper,
Ha!
something like that.
Not a
So
bad way to go.
right, so you eat a
Yeah,
lot, eat a little less, and don't eat much, if
barely eat
anything.
any. Yeah,
That's kind of my routine.
yeah,
It's really
that'll
weird
work.
if I go out entertaining or go out and see people. It's really hard to kind of enjoy that late night meal.
Yeah.
I try, but I don't eat much, and they'll look at me like, "What's wrong with you?" And I go, "I don't eat much anymore."
Yeah, it's the
Especially at
way it
night.
is.
They're all
Yeah.
munching on a 35-ounce steak, and you know, the missus and I'll share like a 12-ounce sirloin, and we'll share it, which I used to wolf down a 16 ounce by myself, no problem. So yeah, so it's I want to write the book called "Shut Your Pie Hole."
Yeah. Yeah, it is your pie hole. What got you into racing, Rick?
Been doing it a long time ago. An old friend of mine who's passed away sadly. He got me hooked on driving mountain roads in his sports car. And I had kind of had I had a small sports car back in the day. This gosh, probably oh gosh, almost 25, 30 years ago. Doing the mountain roads up in the Adirondacks and up in the White Mountains and up in also in the upstate New York because I used to work in Manhattan, used to live in New Jersey. So he had a country house up in a town called Kingston. And so he used to just, just do these mountain road runs and just had a blast. And he bought a track car and he would track it, and I'd go to the track with him. And then one day, I said, God, I wish I could do it. He goes, well, if you want to do this, I'll do it, but it's under the "you break it, you bought it" policy. And I
Hmm.
was making enough money when I was like, huh, I don't want to break it, but if I had to break it, if it broke, I'd be okay. So I did it, and I tracked his Beamer, a little Beamer Z4, Z3, whatever it was, and just went out on the track at Watkins Glen up in New York. There's a famous racetrack,
Sure is.
and I was pretty good at it. I've always been a good driver and not afraid of going quickly, even since I was a teenager. My very first car I ever owned I melted the motor rat racing
Whoa.
around my town where I grew up, around my high school.
Hmm.
Melted the motor, pretty much melted it.
Wow.
So yeah, I've had the sickness for a long time. So it is, and it's definitely a disease. It's uncurable actually.
Hmm.
So you start doing something called high performance driver's ed. Well, again, so I'll give you a different answer. So Paul Gentilossi, a 25-time Trans Am champion. I worked with him in a former life at another universe in the early 2000s or early aughts, as I've heard him say.
Hmm.
And one day I was with him just in the car. We were driving around the racetrack doing some recon. I was in the television production business, and we were executive producing the racing series that he was an owner of, one of the owners. And I said, "So you 20? He's an older gentleman at the time, and kind of portly, and just was like, Paul, why do you do this? What?"
Hmm.
And he picked up his phone. He picked up his phone. He says, "Nobody can reach me while I'm sitting in this chair.
Wow.
When I'm sitting in this seat, nobody can reach me." I was like, that makes a lot of sense, and he's right. I mean, it's you have to be really focused when you're in a race car, and it's a lot of work. Actually, it's very strenuous. Most people don't think so, but it is extremely strenuous because you're going as fast as you can go, as fast as you dare go, um, and you got to be sharp. Like you got to be on it. There's no thinking about anything else. You're not thinking about work. You're not thinking about what's my next phone call. You're not thinking about anything else. And you can't. If you do, it's not good.
Hmm.
You're going to end up in a wall, right, or whatever, or in a big clump. So you've got the ability to just be sharp and stay focused, and it's exhilarating and it's exciting. Um, and you don't get a hangover after that. You do get sore, actually. I
Hmm.
just was actually doing a simulator last night. And there's a new simulator place near me, so I'm doing a sim racing once a week, which is a blast and also very difficult because this force feedback. It's
Hmm.
really interesting. It's a pro simulator
Wow.
on my racetrack and in my car, essentially on a pro simulator. So it's pretty
Wow.
cool. But it's I just grew to love it, and I'm good at it. And unlike I stopped playing golf. It's part of the same story. It's like, golf, you play, play, play. You can get only so good, and then you kind of reach where how good you're going to be, and practice makes perfect and all that stuff. But do you have the time and the practice and the instruction, and
Hmm.
do you keep getting any better? And usually, as you get older, not so much. You don't hit it as long as you used to. You're not as supple as you used to be, and you can't stretch as much. And your scores might not suck, but you're not going to get any better, right? With racing, it's the opposite. I'm getting faster as I'm getting older.
Hmm.
I actually just did a track record last night for my,
Wow.
and a personal best actually. So it's just as long as you can see well enough to drive. I can't see reading, but I can see far away.
Hmm.
And it's really I think it keeps your brain sharp, and it's your body too. I mean, your brain and your body, and it's all tied together. And um, when you're going 170 miles an hour into a corner, you need to pay attention.
Hmm. What is the state of racing now? Like NASCAR, Formula One? I don't follow it. Is it more popular than ever?
Yeah, I think that's right. NASCAR wanes, it kind of comes and goes, and it's sort of perceived as a Southern sport, and it
Hmm.
still kind of is a good old boy sport, but it's certainly much more corporate and commercial than it used to be.
Hmm.
Um, and they're doing all kinds of things to make NASCAR more popular. with the masses, if you will. Um, but Formula One, with the new Formula One movie that's out, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it.
Oh,
It'll give
yeah,
you a lot of
Brad Pitt.
insight. You
That's
should
right.
definitely go see the movie. It's a great movie. I went and saw it with a friend of mine, and it is racing. It's definitely racing, and from my personal experience, it's definitely racing. And I thought it was a really well made movie. It was really fun, but it'll show you a lot. And if you know the was it Netflix? I forget if it was on Netflix or where it was with the Formula One series on
Oh, that's
Netflix.
right. Series.
Um,
Yes.
you
Yes.
can it's just you learn a lot. It's made the Formula One much more popular than it used to be.
Hmm.
Um, Sports car racing like I do it, it's not as fan popular as any either of those for sure. Um, but it's a lot of fun. It's the camaraderie's great. I race in a little series called Champ Car. um, the cars are ugly, they're dented, they're scratched,
Hmm.
but they have safety cages in them. The motors run well. It's got good brakes. It's from the John Belushi movie. You know, it's got cop tires,
Yeah.
cop brakes, cop motor. Um, so it's a race car. It's
Blues
got
Brothers.
Blues Brothers. Thank you. So it's got all those things, and you get to race with 60, 80, 90 other guys on track at the same time,
Hmm.
and it's just a blast.
The
So,
psychology of racing, open wheel Formula One versus closed wheel. I mean, is it completely different?
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, so Formula One is the pinnacle. I mean,
I see.
depending on you can't even read about. Nobody publishes what a Formula One car actually costs.
Really?
Okay, Ferrari is one of the top manufacturers. Been doing it since Formula One was Formula One. They just celebrated their 75th anniversary. I forget what it was, but it's a big anniversary recently. And Ferrari's rumored to have like 1,500 people or more dedicated to the race team.
Wow.
Um, the least, the least, the smallest race team is the Haas team, um, and they've got like 250 people on
Jeez.
the team. And rumors are that the cars are worth tens of millions of dollars
Wow.
each. You
Wow.
know, and then they have a crash and the wing breaks or the back wing breaks or the front wing goes off or something falls off, and you're not talking like a few $1,000s. You're talking like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, to
Jesus.
replace a front wing or something like that from a wreck. Um, and I think that's probably the biggest misnomer. Is most people go, "Well, do you ever wreck?" And it's like, "Well, do you ever take $1 million and burn it in a trash can?"
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you do, but you don't want to. It's not the fun part of the day. The fun part of the day is racing without wrecking. So that's like first question most people ask is, "Hey, do you ever wreck?" And like, God, it's such a terrible question. And
Mm.
yes, you do, and you don't want to, and it
Right.
costs everybody money and time. So,
Yeah.
so I used to fly a giant scale RC aircraft, and that was I actually reallocated my hobby assets to driving. Actually, so I
Hmm.
used to do that when I was younger, and again, just something mental acuity. It's just always keeps you busy,
Hmm.
uh, and well, it's just like just about any sport. It's just like a guy. I think it's a lot more about having something to occupy, and you can focus on. And it keeps you sharp, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but they always used to ask me, "So, do you ever crash?" I was like, "Do you take 10 grand and throw it in the garbage?
Right.
4 grand, take $1,000 and just flush it down the toilet?" Like, that's a stupid question.
Hmm.
Anyway,
So
I
I'm a
digress.
private pilot as well. I didn't realize you were a
I
private as well.
forgot your so
Yeah.
I never got my ticket,
I see.
but I do have about 20 hours of acro.
Wow.
I was a giant scale RC pilot in my 30s,
Wow.
and yeah, that's pretty much my 30s, and so I had this huge airplane. I had to have imagine a Suburban, a full size Chevy Suburban
Yeah.
with the seats all folded down and out, and I could barely put the fuselage of the plane in the Suburban, and the wings actually came off of it so you could fold them up and put them in the car.
Jeez.
And it had a twin cylinder 100cc motor that spun a 30-inch prop.
Wow.
So, it's a big, big plane.
Yes.
Lots of fun. Again, so super focus and projecting your brain into the RC plane was the tricky part, because when you're flying it coming back at you, which way do you go to make it go
Mm,
left, right?
mm, mm,
Which way do
mm.
do you turn it? And so we used to fly at this place out in it was a sod farm out in New Jersey, and they would uh, acro guys would fly over every once in a while. It was near not too far from a small airport, private airport, and can't remember the name of it. And they used to, oh, Sussex Airport in North Jersey, and they used to do an air show there every year. And so a couple of the years I would go out they had RC day, and a couple of years I flew on the RC day. I was pretty good at that. I was pretty good at doing acro in an RC. I had a full size what the heck was it called? Extra 300
Hmm.
model, Extra 300, 1/3 scale. So it's a pretty big plane.
Yes.
They're small planes personally, but it's a big model, right? I built it myself, all 9 yards. And one day there's this guy sitting over my neck, over my back, and I just heard out loud, it's like, "Wait, can you do a lungevac?" And I said, "Well, sure." And I just popped like two lungevacs in a row and put it into a stall, and then flew around for a second. He goes, "Oh, that was
Nice.
really good." So he asked me to do a couple more maneuvers. I did a few more maneuvers, and because he was naming actual real maneuvers that
Yes.
pilots actually fly, and we can, because we don't pull the G's, we can do just about anything in one of those
Yeah.
planes.
Yeah.
And I had mine all extra built up with carbon fiber, so I didn't break it.
Huh.
And we got done. He goes, you guys fly really well. There's like three of us doing a demonstration, and we're just having a blast in front of a crowd. We had like a crowd, and we're having a great time. And he goes, and I'm a big guy, and I was still big back then, right? And he goes, well, and he says, I've got a super decathlon. I'm a aerobatic. I'm an instructor,
Yeah.
and I do acro instruction. I was like, you do? Well, that sounds like fun, but I don't have my ticket. He goes, well, what'd you do? I said, well, I took airframe power plant when I was 16, 17 years in high school, believe it or not, back in Texas. And I thought I wanted to get my airplane air my AMP license, for being a airplane mechanic way back in the day when I was younger, and got to build airplanes and tear down engines and run up engines and jet engines and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's like I wish I did computer coding instead, but that's a whole
Mm.
different story. Um, and he goes, well, so I took ground school, and my dad was a pilot. My uncle was a pilot. So I flew. I flew even when I was young. I first flew a plane when I was like probably 12 or 13, just flying up in the air. And he goes, well, look, he goes, if you come out and take lessons, he goes, we'll do the first half of the lesson, um, and in navigation, everything else, just actually, get your ticket lessons, and we'll fly the other half of the session acro. I was like, I am down with that.
Wow.
And I did that for 2 seasons with him. Didn't have a lot of money to throw at it, but I had enough money to throw at it. And yeah, I got 2 turn, 3 turn spins, my four turn spins, and just learn, basic, super decathlon, maneuvers that the plane will do. It's not a really powerful plane. I think I'm a big guy. He was a big guy. He goes, so we're gonna have to dump a little gas. We can only stay out for about 50 minutes because we can't do the whole hour and a half because
Hmm.
I need to dump some gas because you're a big guy and so am I. So we couldn't take a full fuel load. I remember him saying that. But so yeah, I did that with him for 2 seasons. It was a lot of fun. So I got about 20 hours.
Yeah, people don't realize gas and water is heavy. It's about 6 pounds a gallon. So there's a
That's right.
certain weight balance that you need in the plane. And if you exceed it, it won't fly. So you have to dump some fuel in order to, yeah, to save weight.
And,
It's a great hobby and you learn checklists and you learn structure. And I think it's really good just to run afterwards run a business to have some knowledge in being a pilot. Rick, what's top line disease?
aha, top line disease is when any businessman, certainly in the IT space, but any businessman is infatuated with their revenue.
Mm.
I do 10 million in revenue. Okay. So you do 10 million in revenue. Do you make any profit? Well, we're not really profitable. I've been investing in my business is a very, very common refrain, right? I've been investing in my business and I'm still investing in the business. And it's like, so you're not making any money. So a lot of times people will tell me, hey, I'm a whatever business, I'm a big business, but I'm still investing in my business, which means I'm not making any money. And they're infatuated with top line, that total revenue number in spite of how profitable it is.
Mm.
So part of that can be what we call it having sometimes people that have so there are symptoms of
Mm.
top line
Mm.
disease. One of the symptoms is a staph infection. Um, and staph infection is when I got a bunch of staph that I don't know how to, to cycle through, and it sounds terrible and crude,
Yeah.
or or maybe cold, but it's
Yeah.
not cold. You're running a for-profit business, and you might have a person that's been with you for 15, 18 years, that's been getting cost of living increases, COLA increases every year they've been there, and they're making $150,000 a year now
Mm.
as an 18-year tenured employee, right? But maybe they still do the same thing they used to do for a living. They haven't really moved up. They haven't progressed in such a way where the $150,000 is based on what they do for the
Mm.
company. It's more based on how long they've been there. And then you look at that and say, well, geez, if you put out a request on that person with what that person does, can you hire that same person for half or less? Now, if it's 10 grand less, then you're a crude, horrible person, and you should keep Bob employed, right? But if Bob is getting paid $150,000 to do a $80,000 a year job, it's not a good idea. If you're the business owner, it's really good for Bob, but it's not really good for the business.
Mm.
And often businesses are so stuck on top line, and they have top line disease because they've got all these people that they need to support, and they think that the only way to do that is to keep selling stuff, even if they sell stuff at the too small a margin,
Mm.
or they have too many expenses as part of that, which is also pinching their margins. So a lot of times when we look at our modeling that we do, when we model a company to look at potentially, how much free cash flow they're generating, which is how GAAP accounting looks at it. There's no such thing as EBITDA in GAAP accounting.
Mm.
Whole nother day,
Hmm.
whole nother podcast there, buddy. So there is no such thing as EBITDA in GAAP accounting, just to be clear. If there was a CPA on, they would clap and go, "Oh, thank you for saying that."
Hmm.
So we'll do that. We should do another one on that someday. But
Okay.
top line disease often, because you're trying to, if you're a project business and I've got all these people, and then I can't retrain all these people, and but we don't have as many projects right now. In the last 6 months or last couple of quarters have been terrible, and we haven't been selling the projects that we thought we'd sell. But I can't get rid of employees because I've got all this time invested in them, and
Mm.
they know they have all of the how we do what we do,
Right.
baked into them, and we got to keep them. So golly gee whiz, I guess I'll borrow some money to make payroll the next
Mm.
quarter, right? And so you develop a credit line addiction as part of having a staph infection,
Mm.
because you have top line disease, which is causing it. Because if you were more focused on the bottom line, you would run a more efficient business and stay on top of these things to the best you can. Still doesn't mean you've got to term Bob just because Bob has been with you for a long time. That's not the point. The point is paying people the right money for the job they do, and being a good enough businessman to understand that you got to make tough choices sometimes, right? And that's how you cure yourself. Um, I do mergers and acquisitions, and we help IT companies find and buy other IT companies. So that's our focus. That's all we do. So it's very prevalent in the IT business, is you have a lot of technical people that started a business that aren't necessarily originally business people. They grow into becoming business
Mm.
people. But a lot of people are as nice as possible, which is lovely, and sometimes they just get attached
Mm.
to a degree where they can't fix it, and then they wonder why they're not making any money.
Mm.
And it's like, well, because you got too many employees and you're not charging enough for your services. So, but golly gee whiz, if I charge more, I'm going to lose customers. Well, another symptom, which I haven't named, we're going to have to name this new symptom, but it's not a new symptom. Another symptom is small, tiny clients.
Mm.
I need the revenue, right? If I don't have the revenue, I'm not going to make any money. I'm going to lose revenue. I want to be, I'm a $10 million business. I don't want to be an $8 million business. I have a sidebar for that. So, golly gee, if I'm an $8 million business, I'm just terrible. I'm going backwards. Well, golly gee whiz, if you have an 8 million, which business would you rather own? An $8 million business that makes $1 million to the bottom line, or a $10 million business that makes no money.
Hmm.
I would own the $8 million business all day long, and people don't think like that. And I don't care what kind of business that is. That's a universal business truth. Um, is people get all obsessed with volume and top line, and they just forget about how they got there and why they're not making money. And it's usually because they have too small of clients, and they take on clients where they sell them too cheaply. They give discounts where they shouldn't give them, instead of just man up. So you know what? If I lose this client, bye. I'm not
Mm,
making any money on
mm.
them really anyway. I mean, you're a business. If you're a philanthropy, that's a different thing, right? If you're a nonprofit and you're just trying to help people and you get paid to do that, well, okay, that's a different kind of thing. But if you're a for-profit business in a capitalist society, which I hope we remain for the rest of my life at least, uh, whole nother podcast.
Yes.
But it's just that's another symptom of top line disease is they're very focused on just making a sale almost at any cost and keeping every customer just to keep their revenue coming in the door, even though it might not be profitable revenue.
Mm.
So maybe you and I could name that together someday.
Hmm.
But that's definitely another symptom, right?
Yeah.
Small client itis or something.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, kind of revenue at any cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
revenue at any cost. It's just
Yeah.
well, most people do it. Almost every company does it. We see
Right.
some of it with every company. One of the things that when you do an acquisition, one of the things that a lot of our clients, we're buy side, we represent buyers. We also work for the sellers and help the sellers. We like to do the work product to get the deals done. People compliment us and hey, we get shit done, we get stuff done, and so we do work product for both sides of the fence. But what we often see is when we go and analyze a company, um, you can see we do win loss, how many customers you won, how many have you lost. Um, we do client retention, customer retention, which is a big popular, it's a good thing to be able to do client retention. So there's more value for a company that has good client retention over time. Um, but the idea that you've got small customers, how many of your customers make up 80% of your revenue? And there's lots of different answers to that, right? Do you have a customer concentration issue? Can also be a problem. So if you lose
Mm.
one of the top 5 customers, a fourth of your revenue goes out the door. Well, that's not good either. But if the bulk of your customers are sub $1,000 a month, I would posit that just sending them an invoice probably costs you more than
Mm.
look at the entire food chain of just getting an invoice out the door to service those guys probably costs you half of that, just in total hours per month. Um, I know a lot of people aren't very don't really use man hours anymore or person hours, I suppose.
Mm. Mm.
But the idea that you've got human beings that work for the company that are generating whatever they're generating, doing whatever they're doing to service that customer, is it really worth keeping $1,000 a month customer? And a lot of buyers and a lot of our clients don't think so. They're some guys will cut off at 1,000, some guys will cut off at 2,000. Some guys say, look, if their customers don't average 4,000 a month, I'm just not interested.
Mm.
Um, and again, you've got guys that are small SMB, and you can equate that to devices, right? So I've got customers that have 20 devices, or you can even think about it from employees. I've got customers that have 10 seats, 10 employees. Well, that's a fairly small business. It depends on what you sell them. You could end up selling them enough stuff that they need, that it might be a very IT intensive type business that's got security issues and other things they need to spend money on. That could be a good customer, but as long as you're selling it profitably, right? Again, if you're doing a really good profit on a smaller customer, that's a good thing. But if your smaller customers are sucking the profit up, if you got rid of a bunch of the small customers, then you freed up people to do work on other people. And maybe you find out you don't need as many people because you're not servicing all these little small customers that aren't really making you any money because you have the people and you're doing too much. So you kind of right size the business, get rid of some of the smaller clients, keep the good ones, obviously, and get think profitable ones, right? So keep the profitable ones and the people that you like and that you want to support and that need you. That's cool too. You can be altruistic and run a business, and just don't be so altruistic that you forget you're a for-profit company. Um, so that's a really long answer to top line disease.
When should a business owner, Rick, think about selling their business?
That is a really good question. Loaded question for me. And a lot of people that know me or know what Cogent Growth Partners does for a living we go, oh, this is all self-serving, but it's not really. So you need to run your business like you're ready to sell it every day that you wake
Mm.
up. And most people don't. And because you never know when opportunity is going to come knocking. And most people, we see a lot of our competitors, people out in the space, not just in our industry, but just about any industry. They always talk about exit planning. Sell side brokers specifically talk a lot about exit planning. A lot of coaches talk about exit planning, but it's not really exit planning unless you're actually going to retire and go do something else permanently,
Hmm.
right? And I get all the time people that come back. One of our clients said to me once, he goes, Rick, I retired to pursue. I sold the company and retired to pursue other interests. I discovered I don't have any,
Hmm.
and I'd like to buy another IT company. Please help
Hmm.
me. Okay, and I've always stuck with me. He said that to me probably 10 years ago,
Wow.
and I still use that all the time. I used it yesterday, and it's just funny and it's true and it's right. So most people, when you talk about exit planning, they're like someday. They use, in their mind, it's someday in the future. Someday I'm going to sell. Someday I'm going to do this. I'm going to get my EBITDA, which again, I only use the phrase because that's what other people know. It's actually free cash flow, everybody. It's not EBITDA.
Hmm.
Free cash flow is GAAP, EBITDA, not GAAP. Come
Hmm.
back. We'll talk about that some other time.
What's GAAP?
Generally accepted accounting principles, which is you have to be a licensed CPA and you function on the GAAP. You can certainly do cash accounting for somebody, but GAAP accounting is how a proper company is run with revenue recognition, and it ties the balance sheet and your cash flow statement together with your P&L. Whereas EBITDA thinking is just your P&L by itself, which is not an accurate picture of your business.
Hmm.
Shouldn't be pointing. I hate people that point.
Hmm.
No pointing, but just the one time. Don't do that.
Sure. I get your
Um,
point.
so, and again, I can go on for days about that, but the idea that you've got well, I lost my train of thought.
The
Where,
whole
where,
thing about. Hey, Joey Pinz here. Want to take your podcast experience to the next level? I'm excited to invite you to become a YouTube member. It's the absolute best way to support the channel and enhance your connection. Join our amazing community and unlock the incredible perks, custom loyalty badges, exclusive emojis, and priority comment replies. Your voice will always stand out. Be the first to watch new videos with early access, receive special membership shoutouts, and get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and updates. Dive into content available only to our members, special videos, deep dives, and insider perspectives. Engage directly with me. Suggest podcast topics you want to hear, and even get personalized video shoutouts. Hit the join button right now and become part of something special. Let's build this amazing community together. I can't wait to welcome you as a new member. Join the Joey Pinz family today. When
when
businesses
should we
should
sell? That's right.
consider
Sorry.
selling, yeah.
So, if you run your company making profit, running a good company every day, it's for sale anytime somebody calls you that it feels like a good idea to take some. One of the things we talk about is people want to take chips off the table. A gambling reference. Well, it's not gambling. I kind of hate that reference, right? Because it's not gambling. You're running a good business. You're running it to make money, and you're paying people, and you've got a family that you're paying, and things like that. I consider my employees family. Um, but at the same time, it's a business, and you want to be in a position where I call you or anybody calls you and says, "Hey, you and Bob should meet each other," and different Bob. you and Bob should meet each other because I think your two companies combined would be an excellent idea. I think you guys would enjoy each other and enjoy working together. You don't necessarily have to be partners when that happens, by the way. There's lots of nuance to that, but most business owners, their single largest uh, asset is their business.
Hmm.
And if it's consultancy and not really a business, there's some gray area there. But still, the idea that a business, is a for-profit enterprise, then you want to be able to sell at a drop of a hat, kinda, and it's called liquidity. It's not an exit. So people need to stop thinking about exit planning, and they need to think about being ready for a liquidity event a liquidity moment that would happen anytime in their future where it looks economically interesting to do so. Um, I will. There's Gary Pica says, I'll give him credit that once you do an event, like have a liquidity event, your relationship with money changes.
Mm,
And thank you for doing that, Gary, because I use it all the time.
he's
But
great.
it's true. It's really true, right? Your relationship with money changes. You're not worried as much about paying the mortgage at all, if at all. It's not like how much did I make this month in salary and bonus and perks. Um, it's about golly gee whiz, I like doing what I do. It's like you really get to go back into the whole mode of, a person that loves what they do never works a day in their life.
Mm,
I wish I found this job 20 years ago. I kind of did actually a little bit, but not the way I'm doing it now. I've been doing buy side my whole life, actually. Never been on the sell side. But I've been helping companies buy other companies and grow the company by acquiring other companies and buying. It's talent. These are talent acquisitions. People always think it's like buying a book of business. You're buying the customers. That's just part of it. It's the end result. The real thing is bringing people in together and growing people, because they're people. Good people are hard to find. They're hard to find and hire.
yeah, they sure are.
And if you can find a good, well-run company, and they got good people, because they wouldn't be a good, well-run company if they didn't have good people, then because you don't want to buy a crappy company that's run poorly
Mm,
or has poor people, which is part of the due diligence process to make sure the people are good people, not poor people. Poor, then you're adding talent and putting the talent together, and that talent is how you make a great company and a bigger company, assuming that's what you want to do. Some people, don't want to just kind of rise to their specific gravity and call it a day. Um, but knowing when you're ready is, I've been doing this. What else is there? When what else is there starts running through your mind.
mm.
Um, retirement is, I think, also a fallacy. God, I'm older. I'm not going to admit to how old I am today, but I'm old. I'm hope people tell me I'm older, younger than I
You
look.
look
So,
great, Rick.
well,
You look
thank you very
great.
much. Thank you very much. I'll be turning 67 in a month, which
Wow.
I'm not happy about.
Wow.
Not at all.
Wow. You look
Thank you for the
I
reaction.
would not have guessed that. I'm 57. I would figure you're the same age as me if it
Well, I appreciate that thought. You keep telling everybody
yeah.
that. So it ain't getting any younger, as they say. But at what time, it's whatever age, and people are like, I'm not ready to exit yet. Well, a lot of deals we do, you're putting ownership together with each other, and you're building a bigger, stronger management bench. You're building a stronger C-suite so that you could keep growing. And again, it depends on what you personally want to do. Some people just don't want to do that, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people find it to be exhilarating and exciting, and it's a new challenge. And again, that's why I like to race cars. Every time you get in the car, you got to be sharp. You got to stay
Mm,
focused. And I'm
mm,
running a different racetrack, and I got to learn that track and how do I get quick at that track. And you got to do lap after lap after lap after lap. And I can find this little bit of speed in this corner. And golly gee whiz, I was being a big wuss on the brakes in this corner. I broke for too long. I spent too much time on the brakes. Get off the brakes,
mhm,
you
mm,
jerk, and get on the gas quicker
mm,
and break deeper into that corner, because I can outbrake that guy. He's being a chicken stuff, so I can get inside of him and I can go faster than he can. And and it's the same thing in business to me. I mean, I think it's an analogy for business, right?
mm,
Um, being able to say, look, I can do this better. We should be able to sell this new service. If we bolt that new service onto this other service, we're gonna get more money for this exponentially than I can charge for the service. I'm doing it right, right? If I, instead of having one bob at 150, if I had two bobs at 80 each, I can get twice as much work done,
mm.
right? It's not I want to save money just to make money because I'm being greedy. I can get more work done. If I can get more work done, we all make money, and I got two bobs making a living instead of one bob making a
Wow.
living, right? So yeah, I think it's all analogous.
Rick, what are common mistakes that business owners make? We were talking yesterday about, not paying enough or paying too much, or they're writing things off when they shouldn't. What should business
Ah,
owners really be keeping their eye on to make sure their company is worth as valuable as it can be?
stop running your company because your tax accountant told you how to do it.
Mm,
And again, I'd like to write a book on that.
mm.
I might actually.
But if you can't
Uh,
take advice from your tax accountant, who can you take advice from?
don't run your company based on the advice of your tax
I
accountant.
see.
So the idea is, first of all, most people run their company on a P&L,
Mhm.
on a profit and loss
Profit and
statement.
loss. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a terrible idea. A profit and loss statement does not tell you your cash flow.
Hmm.
You need a cash flow statement, which you can't just punch up a button in QuickBooks very easily and do a cash flow statement. Cash flow statement takes a little bit of work and a little bit of effort because you have to have a starting balance and you have to look at your bank accounts and tie your bank accounts out with what's going on in collections. And you're saying, am I collecting on time? Maybe I'm a terrible collector. Maybe I let people go net 60 more often than I should.
Hmm.
Maybe I bill late. A lot of people, a common complaint. It's interesting. Well, please keep me on track when I say this, but so I don't lose track. But common complaint is, well, here it's the end of the month, and sometimes I don't get my tickets in from my team until the next month, so my billing is often screwed up.
Hmm.
So why does that person even have a job? I wouldn't give them if it was me,
Right.
I wouldn't give them a paycheck if they didn't turn in their tickets for the month of this month. I like, why? When you turn your tickets in, I'll give you a paycheck because I can't bill those people unless you do your job and give me the tickets. So why is that a thing, right? So run your company better.
Hmm.
Look at all your processes. I mean, there's EOS, there's peer groups, there's lots of different things you can do to have people give you advice. There are people that are just coaches and consultants. There's lots of them. A lot of people that are from the IT industry that have sold and they're now consultants. They're all smart people and they know what's going on, but you got to listen to them and you got to be open to getting advice. Um, yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question
What
completely.
else should business owners do to make their company more?
Oh yeah, let's come back to that. So look, what the big part about not letting your tax accountant tell you how to run the company
Yeah.
is a concept called add backs,
Right.
right? And add backs are a thing, but if you think about it,
What is it? Define it.
well, an add back is, hey, I've got quote unquote an owner benefit that I'm getting from the company to help support my lifestyle, um, and the company's paying for it as a company expense.
Give me an example.
Uh,
Boat,
company car,
car.
company car, good example, right? Instead of getting a new a company truck that's got company logo on it that I drive to and from work, which is a company vehicle, a little bit of advertising might be thrown in there as well if you think about it. And I go and see customers all the time, but I also take it home and I run to the grocery store in it. That's okay.
Hmm.
Right? There's nobody at the IRS going to have a problem with that. It's a company vehicle. I've got a brand new Ferrari. I've actually a recent experience is an Audi A8, which is a $250,000 car. I'm pretty sure you don't need an Audi A8 to be a
Hmm.
company vehicle, right? And it's expensive. And my company is giving me this perk, and a perk is cool as long as you don't abuse it. I think my morals and ethics, but you want to make sure you're not perjuring yourself on your tax return. Just blurt it out, right? And people think ad backs are like a common thing and that you should do it. And it's actually the companies that don't do ad backs, that don't run their lifestyle, let me put it a different way. Companies that don't run their lifestyle through the business are more valuable than companies that run their lifestyle through the business because the accounting is almost untraceable. It's
Right.
not very simple to trace out the accounting. So when you look at it from a GAAP accounting perspective, you're going to do an audit. So you said that you're paying for this, you said that you're paying for that because the company makes this much money, right? So what we like to say is, look, what you want to do is, how much money does the company make before you decide how you want to spend it?
Hmm.
Okay, that's what you should be looking at. And that first part's the most important part because if you want to go buy a new company boat or a company airplane, which we've seen, right? Uh, okay, but is it really a business expense or not, or is it a personal expense? So be honest with yourself. But most importantly, I would highly recommend that you don't do ad backs. That's really also goes back to your previous question about what's my exit strategy.
Right.
So some people try to wean themselves off of lifestyle business, and it's hard because you're used to writing that check to go get that new whatever you want to buy, the new shiny thing that you want to get, or something you have to buy. But maybe it's like my deck is going to fall off my house and I got to buy a new deck. Golly gee whiz, I don't have the money. Well, then pay yourself a bonus
Mm,
and go buy the deck you need to buy.
mm,
You know, the company deck doesn't count. It's not the company's problem. And just so, again, could go on for that one with hours, but generally speaking, is you want to make sure that you are looking at accrual accounting is more important than cash accounting.
mhm,
Taxes are usually done on a cash accounting basis, although you can do them accrual. Most people don't. My own CPA will not let me even contemplate doing accrual accounting because our business just doesn't support it. So we're cash accounting, but I don't have a lot of invoices. I don't have all kinds of stuff coming in and out like an IT company does. We've got a finite amount of clients and things like that. Um, but the biggest thing is being able to look at an accrual basis. And I'll tell you one of the biggest things is an issue. Just as another symptom. Like we'll name this symptom as well at some point. But there's a concept called deferred revenue and accrual
yes.
accounting. And by the way, I'm not a CPA, but I just play one on TV or
Hmm,
I play one on podcasts. I've looked at enough stuff over decades that I don't just enough to be dangerous. And I know when to ask a CPA too, and or a tax accountant, a tax lawyer, which I highly recommend talking to a tax lawyer about any tax thing and have the tax lawyer tell the CPA what to do, especially in a purchase situation, especially in a mergers and acquisitions. Tax attorneys know tax law, CPAs know tax guidelines. Two different things. Tax lawyer wins, CPA has to listen to tax lawyer. So that's just best advice. So putting that, and they would all agree with what I'm fixing to say. So a telltale is, hey, I sell a lot of projects. I get deposits for my projects. I take quarterly payments. I get people pay me up front for a whole year sometimes. Actually, one of my clients did that to us this year, surprised me at the end of last year with a this year payments. Like, thanks a lot.
hmm.
Screwed up my whole accounting, like the day of closing. I mean, the day of closing of the year, too. It's like, really? I had this all done. Now I got to go change everything. Um, so deferred revenue is a think of it as custodial money. You give me $100,000 deposit on a $200,000 job, but I haven't done a lick of work yet,
Hmm.
right? And let's say that job's going to take a year, just for giggles, okay? So I'm not necessarily going to deliver timely and in monthly chunks, divide by 12, right? So that's probably not going to happen. It's going to be in spurts. Um, but so I take that money and I pay payroll with it and I do other things with that money. But I shouldn't do that. It should live in a savings account or it should live in a bank account. It should be sequestered because it's not your money. It's custodial money. You're the custodian of that client's money. That customer gave you their money because they want the services from you when you deliver them. But from an accounting perspective, and just generally speaking, it's not your money until you do the services.
Hmm.
So as you draw down, as you do the services, so what you do instead of park it, so a lot of people put that money on their profit and loss sheet. They call it income. They look at it as revenue. It is not revenue.
Hmm.
It is not income. You haven't earned a penny of that yet. So you park it on the balance sheet, which is not on the P&L. And by putting it on your balance sheet, which most people don't that need to learn about what a balance sheet actually does, um, and what a strong balance sheet is versus a weak balance sheet and so forth and so on. Again, another day. But on a balance sheet, I've got deferred revenue, and then I do a month's worth of service. And let's say, just for simple math, we're going to break it down into twelfths, and we're going to service it in twelfths for this 1 year project. And so I did my month's worth of services, and I take 1/12 of that 120 grand for easy math. I take 12 grand and I put it on revenue because I earned it. And I debited the balance sheet account for that from the 120, and then I put a credit on the revenue side, and it allows me to then earn profit and whatever else I did for that revenue, right? I even see people try to manipulate the profit. Say, well, this part of the business is only loaded. I've had a few of these happen, even this year, where or candidate company was looking at um, the how they did business with they took projects and they took deposits and all this stuff. And he told one of my clients that he was a $1.5 million EBITDA business. And then my client, without checking with us, said, "Oh God, I believe you, I love you." And they've been dating for a little while, and we likened the whole thing to a dating process. They were dating for a while and loved
Sure.
each other a lot, which is, we call it opportunity first, money last. Why the heck should you do a deal at all if it's not going to make sense? And once it makes sense, then we can figure out how the money works. We do that instead of money first and then figure it out later. We like to figure it out first, then do the money later. Um, but this guy told him it was a million and a half, and they're like, "Great, that's awesome. I love your business. I love everything. This is fabulous. We're going to make you an offer right now, and we'll put it in an IOI." And they did. And then we do our model, and my team calls me up one day. I never forget this. This was fourth quarter last year, beginning fourth quarter, and actually third quarter. And they go, "Murphy, I don't know if he's looked at all the numbers or anything, but we got these guys losing like $400,000." I'm like, "Holy cow!" I said other words, obviously, but holy
Mm,
cow,
mm.
how the hell did that happen? And they go, "Well, about 1.5 million is in deferred revenue, and there's about $400,000 in sales tax liabilities."
Whoa.
So he was upside down $1.9 million. And he thought he was positive $1.5 million because he had no idea when he was taking those deposits and these guys have been running a business for a long time. And his CPA said it was okay. His
Mm,
tax attorney would have said differently, by the way.
mm,
Again, my pointing, sorry about that. These are important. Um, but I had to call him and talk to him, and we did the model and looked at it. I was like, "Oh my God, our team was right," which we are, and we're good at doing this stuff. Again, we're not a CPA firm, but we spend a lot of time analyzing models with people who are ex CPAs, by the way, and MBA finance people. Anyway, so I had to call the guy and say, "Bob, a lot of Bobs, right? Um, Dude, your business is really do first of all, it's Q&A, right? What do you do with the deposits? How does the deposit work? Just to make sure we were right about it."
right.
And sure enough, yeah, I booked that as revenue because the way I do it, Rick, these are front loaded, so we have to do all this work up front, and then we do the work later, and then we do this other work later, and then so he sort of just averaged it all across and figured that that's how you do it. And he's like invented his own accounting process. Um, I was like, "Golly gee whiz, no." And I had to tell him his business was unsaleable. There's not a chance on God's green earth that, that our client would be able to spend a nickel on your business that's negative. You need to fix this.
Wow.
And we went back and forth a little bit, and happily, he's still a friend of ours, a friend of the company. His company's doing better, but I remember he called me just towards the end of last year. So I introduced him to a coach who gave him a financial education and redid his books on top of our modeling, which we showed him as well. We showed him our whole model, said, "Here." He's like, "Oh my gosh, that's how this works?" Like, "Yep." That's the simple version of that conversation. It was a much longer conversation. And he suddenly realized that that was a huge mistake and that I was right about how that works. And he did his own research also, figured out did some GAAP accounting research. And I had a consultant come in, completely third party. No, I'm not paying him. He paid him. And sure enough, like said exactly the same thing we said, and cured him of his whatever part of the disease that was, ebititis, ebititis, or P&L-itis or something,
Mm,
um, and or gap, I don't know, just anti-gap, but he saw the error of his ways, and I'm going to be talking to him in about a week just to see how he's doing. But when I talked to him at the top of the year, he said, "Yeah, Murphy's, we were able to turn that around and get all our accounting right, and we were able to make 300 grand." I was like, "Aha! Now you're doing what I thought you could do," and that's about where we had him. By the way, we were seeing that 400 maybe being able to go positive because if you did it, booked it right, and the way his revenue was going, you could see maybe $300,000 to $400,000 worth of potential for the end of the year, and that's about what they hit.
hmm.
And he's like, "Thank you so much, thank you so much." And he's not for sale right now. Obviously, he wasn't for sale then. We just found good dance partners with my client. My client stays in touch with them because they like to keep dating over the years. You never know when stuff's going to happen. Um, and he's fixing the company. And it's the company itself, it's not fundamentally broken. It's just how you deal with the revenue recognition and what you use that money on.
Hmm.
So when you think about, I take it, when somebody says, do you do projects? Yes. Do you take deposits? Yes. How do you book the deposits? Straight line now. We don't even mince words anymore because it's a tell on how they run their entire rest of their business,
Mm.
right? And are you really ready to do something or not? So again, we talk about things to do is, and accrual accounting and being accrual if you can, as opposed to cash accounting. You can be accrual as a business and still do your taxes cash, right? But just run your business based on accrual accounting and a cash flow sheet and not on cash accounting and your P&L.
Mm. When you mentioned your friend who was failed at retirement and wanted to buy another company, uh, when somebody wants to buy a company and wants to work with a firm like yours, what questions should they be asking to find a qualified partner?
So we So first of all, we're a little different. We're very different than most companies. So we, being buy side, we have an outreach group, and we spend all of our time trying to meet interesting companies so we can introduce them to other of our interesting clients.
Hmm.
With our clients, we work on a mandate basis. So what you're going to think about is exactly what you're looking for to as fine a point as possible, and then leave yourself some wiggle room, and we'll cast a wider net. So I'll get back to that. So some companies will come and say, "Hey Murphy, I'd love to buy a company that is they're MRR heavy, which everybody wants. They got to be 60, 70% MRR, and this, that, and the other. And we don't care about verticalization. Some do, some don't. Are you a legal vertical, healthcare vertical, professional services vertical? There's lots of different things to think about. I like manufacturing. I like government. I like state and local government. I'm a federal government guy. Some are do everything. They're horizontal. We call that horizontal. Um, but be really specific on what you're trying to accomplish, because are you trying to grow geographically is a good first question. Does it have to be close by? I was giving somebody counsel earlier this week. I'm actually having a follow-up call this afternoon, actually, with a new client. And they had this like very specific, like one little tiny town geography. I said, look, I love you. That's never going to work. There's only so many companies in that geography. Any of them, even the chance that any of them are going to talk to us, I don't know. And if none of them talk to us, we're dead in the water and you're paying me for no reason.
Hmm.
I said, I highly recommend you cast a wider net and let's draw, 150-mile-an-hour circle. So how far would you drive? Here's something to think about. How far would you drive to go into a meeting if you had to go fire somebody at the company that you bought that's not next door, that didn't move in with you, right?
Hmm.
They're geographically remote to you. And again, the emergency, I got to go take care of some emergency. Maybe it's not firing someone, but I got to go. I got to be at that office today. How far would you be willing to drive to do that? Because you don't want to have to drive to the airport, get in an airplane. So as a first acquisition, certainly we don't want you to get in an airplane, right? You get on a train if you're talking East Coast, right? Can't get on a train if you're not talking East Coast. But let's say you're talking East Coast, I can get on a train. I can get from New York City to Washington pretty quickly, but it does take a bit of time. But I can get to Jersey faster. I can get up into Boston quickly. So if I'm centered in Manhattan and I want to make a New York Metro kind of growth plan, well, you draw a big circle around wherever you are and say, hey, look, I can drive to Boston in 4 hours or 5 hours. I can drive to Washington D.C. is about 5 hours. That's a long drive. What if I get stuck in traffic? Oh, I need to be there. So hey, draw a 2.5, 2 mile, 2 hour, 2.5 hour, 3 hour circle around where you live, where you're based, and say that's a decent geography. And if you're in a reasonably populated area, that's going to be a lot of companies, hundreds, if not thousands of
Yeah.
companies. So we look at that on an individual basis, and every potential client's, any potential buyer's thinking is really think about what the geography is. Because the worst thing we can hear is, hey, I want a company that does $1 million in EBITDA anywhere USA. We're like, yeah, that's not going to work for me, right? I need more focus. Make sense?
Absolutely. And it's important to find somebody that knows what they're doing and that you like as well. Rick, has there been anything in the last month or so that you changed your mind on?
Which way? What do you mean?
Anyway, anything at all that you
Like
just
on my
changed
thinking or on like deals or what? On deals?
anything?
Well, I mean, we again the let's see. I'm not going to say publicly what I say privately about deals. Yeah, I will anyway. So when I have to, the conversation I had with that one client, with that one candidate company, we call them candidates, not targets, because they're not targets. They're M&A curious, right? So you
Hmm.
got an M&A curious company that is considering, what their most valuable asset is worth, and is it time to put some money in their pocket so they don't have to worry about making payroll every week, or making their mortgage payment. Um, so we call that having your baby's ugly conversation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is your baby ugly?
Hmm.
I'm sure there's a more polite way to put that. But, the idea is like, look, your company's not as pretty as you think it is, and here's why. And you can fix it though. It's not damaged beyond repair, and you can fix it. So we can help you to some degree, but that's not our business. So I can't coach you, and I can coach you a little bit. I can do a valuation on you and give you a lot of KPIs and things you can work on. I can tell you what your business is worth, within a range immediately after doing our modeling, and working with you and learning about your company. But it means, is there a buyer that likes you, that you like? Which, because I think that's one of the most important things, is like you just said, does the candidate company like the buyer,
Hmm.
or is it just an auction? And that happens too, right? People do auctions. We don't, but people do. But the real thing is there a good fit? Is there a good culture fit? We start with culture. It's all about, is there a good fit? Why should we do this? The way I put it in every call I've ever done ever is, why should I hitch my wagon to your wagon train, Mr. Buyer? And we tell the buyers the same thing. If you want to be a buyer, why should some seller hitch their wagon to your wagon train? Why should they do business with you? Why should they want to be part of your company? And if you can't answer that question, going back to your, what does a buyer have to think question?
Right.
If you can't answer that question honestly, then you shouldn't be a buyer. A lot of people get brokeritis also. So
Hmm.
brokeritis is a thing. And I'm not on social media, so I don't know which direction you swipe. So I'll just use the word swipe. Um, but somebody said, well, you must be. So I don't know if it's swipe left, right, up, down, sideways. I don't know. But you know, brokeritis is, oh, that's an interesting company. No, I don't like that one. Nope, I don't like that one. Nope, I don't like that one. Oh, that one's interesting. Oh, I don't like that one. Right. And that's because you're looking at companies that are for sale. You're looking at a produced piece of paper that somebody produced with information in it, which often is not very accurate. Often it's embellished, might be a really good word to put in it. Um, and they try really hard. And then you look under the covers, and there's all stuff that's happened. So you don't get to see under the covers until much, much later in the process. And then by then, everybody's wasted time. Maybe not. Maybe it's worked out wonderfully, and a deal happens, which also happens, but a lot of times it doesn't happen. And so we try to approach it the opposite way. Let's look under the covers first. Let's see, why the heck should we do this first? Is everybody going to get along? What's everybody going to do for a living? Why the hell are we doing this at all? Often it's for growth purposes and lots of exit planning, excuse me, liquidity planning and things like that. If we want to make a bigger, cooler business, we can sell to somebody later on for more money. Let's pool our resources. Let's pool our talent. Um, so that's a great, it's very popular. All the cool kids are doing it, right? Um, but at the same time, there's the opposite. That's
Hmm.
also true. Makes sense?
It
And
sure does.
the opposite true, and people forget about that, and they get kind of all sucked into exititis, brokeritis, and that everybody's just that you're for sale for a reason. We used to get asked, we still get asked by new clients until we teach them. Why is this guy for sale? I'm like, why is he talking to us? I said, because we're charming, and we told him that you were a great potential suitor, and we pitched you, not because they're for sale,
Hmm.
John,
Hmm.
right? They're not broken near as we can tell. We don't really know yet, but you know, so the brokeritis, the symptom of brokeritis is, why are they for sale? Well, even the broker deals aren't going to tell you why they're for sale. And again, there's really good reasons for being for sale. The wife and husband that run the business are getting divorced. Uh,
Hmm.
there's 4 partners in the business. One of them does all the work, and the other 3 don't do
Right.
crap.
Right.
Uh, there's just a bunch of reasons why
Uh,
stuff happens, and we can help them. And then when they're looking for that kind of value, if they find us, we're going to help them. If they find a broker that can help them, good for them. That's fine. But there's just lots of nuance.
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypins.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it. Yeah, there certainly is. And you need to come up with a glossary of all these terms, Rick. They're fantastic.
Well,
So,
it's hard, until I can own them, I'm not.
until you could actually trademark them. So I think I told you, and it's very similar to yours. I started my MSP in 93. I sold it in 2019. But in the 90s, when I started in my 20s, I was working way too hard, not paying attention to my health. You see how this theme comes to you. And, 16-hour days, not eating well. And I'm in front of the doctor. And Rick, I'm at 340 pounds. So I had gained all this crazy amount of weight. And she says to me, if I don't lose this weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. So
Yep.
she scared the life out of me. So
That's
spent the next 6-7 months, just like yourself, lost about 120 pounds. And you can't look
wow.
at, yeah.
I
And,
never knew you when you were big.
yeah, it was back 2000. So yeah, it's been
I
20
call it
plus.
my Bluto days.
Yeah, and again, I use the same pie hole analogy, right? I'm driving home, punching the steering wheel. This is my pie hole. I did this to myself, but I have a family now. So I can abuse myself all I want, but I've got a daughter and I've got, a family. So again, 120 pounds, you can't look at it as a finishing line, right? These are
No.
lifelong changes you have to
Yeah,
make. So
that's
when I
right.
tell people the story, I always, what's your secret? How'd you lose the weight? And there's no secret, Rick. Discipline. That's how I lost it. Motivation, focus, willpower. How does discipline play a role in your life, Rick Murph?
Good hook, Joey. Good hook. Um, Everything we talked about is discipline, right?
Mm,
I mean, just about everything that I talked about today, and just about everything we do is based on some discipline to some degree, with some sort of twist to discipline, right? My hobbies, discipline. To
hmm,
be an RC pilot, to be an acro pilot, you have to have discipline. To be a race car driver, you have to have discipline.
mm.
I like to snow ski. I haven't done it in a little while because that was huge. Now I'm looking forward to going snow skiing this
Yes, in
winter
the winter.
because I'm lighter now and it should be a lot easier. Expert snow skier, but I, turn into a giant balloon.
Mm,
Um, so all of those things take discipline, right? And then, in business, there's lots of different disciplines. Again, some people are just focused on that revenue part of the discipline. They're not focused on the profit part of the discipline, which
mm.
means you need to be ruthless is the wrong word. You need
Determined?
determined, right? Yeah, determined is a better word. Again, I care about people. Everybody cares about people, but at a certain point in time, um, is that more of a detriment than it is in terms of that particular person that maybe is run their course? Sadly, I've had some longtime employees with me that we had to make some changes, and we went in a different direction, and that direction is working famously.
Hmm.
And I now kick myself in the butt, and I probably should have made that change a while back, actually. And but I had to do it myself. I've had to do it myself. I've been in many different businesses, and I've had to do it so many times. Um, and I mean, the part of my discipline has been over many decades of being in different businesses, to where you got to just make. Sometimes you got to make the hard decisions, and having the discipline to make the hard decisions is probably the most difficult thing for every business owner, especially in the IT space.
Mm.
Um, because a lot of the people in the space are engineers. They speak a very similar language, right? And they have a lot of similar interests because of that.
Hmm.
Um, then they have a more familial bond than perhaps other businesses. Um, and I think to sometimes it can be their detriment a little bit, because God, Bob just got married. They just bought a new car. They just got a new house. He just had a baby. I don't know what to do. And so I'll go ahead and suck it up and keep employing Bob. And I'll find somebody new to do this other job Bob should be doing. They just don't, they're not disciplined about their decision process.
Mm,
And I think that's a core to being a good business person. Um, and if you can't do it anymore, might be time to sell.
mm,
If you're not good at it, might be time to join forces with a different company
mm,
and get them to help you and do the things you like to do. Find your passion. That's the biggest thing when we do deals. We hear a lot about it immediately afterwards. I even had a deal once where the client, and it's a very successful deal. As a matter of fact, the one guy is still working for the buyer company 5 years later, um, and the other guy who was the CEO and majority owner, the buyer didn't want him,
hmm.
and I had to tell him so. And they put on me on it, put me
Tough
on it.
conversation.
Very tough conversation.
Yeah.
So having the discipline to have a tough
Right.
conversation. And it was a very tough conversation. The funny thing was, after they closed, about 2 months later, I got this fabulous phone call from the owner that wasn't part of the trip, and he was so relieved. He was so happy. He was jumping up and down happy. And I've since got probably 3 or 4 referrals from him over the years. And how interesting, right?
Wow.
Tough conversation, tell the truth, and actual happiness.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, I mean, that's kind of the moral of the story, right? It's okay to be disciplined. It's okay to be um, um, doing your job. It is, and I think a lot of people are really concerned about it.
I agree. Rick Murphy, I've always been a big fan. I'm so glad you're healthy and you're looking great.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your time today. Anybody watching, listening, how can they get in touch with you?
Hit us up on cogentmergers.com on our website. There's all kinds of different ways to get us on the website. My email is very simple. It's rick@cogentmergers.com. There is actually a book a meeting with me on my email. Happy to ping you back. You can find me on LinkedIn. I don't have my handle handy, but you can find me on LinkedIn
We'll put
pretty
it up.
easy. And happy to talk with anybody about either side. If you're M&A curious, we'd love to meet you. If you'd like to be a buyer, we'd love to meet you.
Rick, thanks so much for your time. I'll see you on the road next time. You be well. Have a great day.
I'll see you. Thank you, Joey. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations.